Now, I'm going to tell you about snails and earwigs and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when the English came over here and they introduced the English language upon us, there were certain things that they didn't have a value on. And there were little things, names for birds, names for rubbish, names for insects. And Granny would always call a crane a curragraigue, and she'd call rubbish brus. She'd call an earwig a galliog, or she'd call a beetle a curragraigue, or she'd call there was a particular type of little yolk called a shield bug or a shield insect, and she called him a shit puka. Yeah, because he used to give off yeah, shit.
A shit and then a poo.
Poo, yeah.
Puka, a ghost.
A ghost, yeah.
A puka.
Yeah, a puka, because when you went near him, he'd actually give off a smell. It was a kind of an invisible smell. It was a way of just kind of defending himself. But anyway, we'd also do the word for a snail. And do you know what they call a snail?
What?
A shelly pookie. Yeah, a shelly pookie. And different parts of the country, where parts of Wexford you go to, they call them different names. But the shelly pookie was an old name anyway. But the insects, the thing was, you know what? The insects still spoke Irish in Wexford. Do you know that?
Mm-hmm.
So even some of the birds that talk Irish, the magpie now talk English, but some of the birds like would the wren would talk Irish. Robin would have Irish as well, Irish and English.
Well, Santi definitely.
Yeah.
Because Santi teaches someone.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. And there'd be different birds. The thrush would have Irish as well. But the snail probably said had the closest to the type of Irish that we spoke in Wexford. And if you're going along a road and you see now a snail shell, right? And if you go down and you pick him up and you hold him by the shell and put him into the palm of your hand, another way he wouldn't be sticking his head out, his head would be inside. And you'd say to him like, Shelly pokey, show me your horns. Shelly pokey, show me your horns. Shelly pokey, show me your horns. And he'd say that 3 times, and on the 3rd time the snail would put out his head, right? Now, if you said that to a snail in a part of the country or the part of the county where he spoke English, the snail would put his head out, somewhere around East Waterford somewhere, right? No bother, he'd put the head out. But up where we were in our part of Wexford, the snail still spoke Irish, right? Mm-hmm. And you'd say things like, Shelly pokey, tashbon dum do Irka. Shelly pokey, tashbon dum do Irka. Shelly pokey, tashbon dum do Irka.
Are you just making this up?
No.
Like the peacock?
No, I'm not making it up. No, and listen, when you would say the 3rd time, no, you wouldn't. You'd say it now, I guarantee I'll show you. And the 3rd time, the man would put his head out. And you'd say hello to him, put the head back in again. Then I'd say it again in Irish, Shelly pokey, that's what. And he'd put the head out. And you kind of figure out fairly quickly that snail has no bother or no interest in talking in English. But if you ask the old snail how he'd get on, couldn't talk to, the snail would answer you back and he'd talk there. And now the snail's Irish would be a bit different than mine. It'd be probably closer. I would have learnt Munster Irish in school. And but we'd be able to kind of communicate. But one of the boys anyway, see the boys in the tech now, I think it was Declan Keogh, right? And he was in school with me, and the boys hated Irish. I don't know why they hated it, but they hated Irish. But they were cute for us, right? So Keogh one day anyway, he went out and he used to gather snails, and he gathered them in a bag and he'd lay them all out, and he'd learned a few Irish words of Irish people to call them out, right? And then he had them all kind of lined up, and what he used to do was he used to bribe the snails with little bits of food, right? And the poor snails would be starving, and sure the snails would do anything then for a bit of food. So he used to kind of win the snails over like that. And thought Okras Orm was all he'd hear coming out of his room, right? So he'd give the old snail a bit of bread or a bit of raw, and the snail would be happy out, right? But what he used to do was, I did for his leaving or junior cert and his leaving cert, right? He brought the snail in with him and put him in his little bag. And under the old Irish, your exams in school, Nellie?
Mm-hmm.
And when he'd go open up the thing, he wouldn't have a fucking clue what he'd be looking at or answer. So he'd figure out what he was going to say and he'd whisper it. And the snail would go, oh, Clea. Oh, Iver a hen. Oh, shiver a do. And so the snail gave him all the answers, right? So your man flew through the exam. First class honours. Went on then to leaving cert. The honours Irish class. He couldn't talk a word, speak a word of Irish. What I did then was just put the snail up to his ear. And when he was talking, the snail would whisper into his ear. And then he'd be able to repeat what the snail would say to him. He'd give the snail a bit of bread and stuff. But that fella went on, do you know that?
Mm-hmm.
He actually got a job then in I think it was in Wexford County Council. Then he went on to some kind of foreign ministry department. And I think he works as a kind of a civil servant up in Dublin in some Irish speaking area thing. And apparently you still see him. He comes back down home in Wexford. The lad said you'd still see him. And he'll come back down at different times of the year collecting the Wexford snails. The Wexford snails still speak Irish, and he brings them all the way back to Dublin so he can learn Irish.
Is he a teacher, like a school teacher?
Yeah, he works for the government, he's a head of the school teachers. He writes all the documents and all about how the language should be taught in schools and where it
But does he still know a bit of Irish, any?
He'd know enough now to be able to feed the snails. That's all he'd know. And he'd know where to get the snails. Up where he lived now around Owler, around Rahy and Duff, that's where lots of real good snails were, the real native snails were. They'd have different Irish than the snails on our way. Our lads would have a different accent, to be slower, his would be faster, and a lot of old words. The best place to get snails in a townsland called Knockskinnamalin, and that's between, it's called Knockskinnamalin, that's there between Wells and Rahy and Duff. It's a little small townsland.
Mm-hmm.
It's the knock of the Sciac of Molan. Saint Molan was I think he was a 6th century saint. And he left a lot of lovely Irish up around that part of Wexford. So I must get you a snail sometimes, lads. Eppie, would you like a snail that can talk Irish?
No!
Why?
Because they're yucky.
Oh no, he'll be friends with you.
No, they're yucky.
They know all the songs. You could teach them all them songs. Not the ones, Eat a Hound, yeah?
No, they are yucky.
Or the Colostal Organ songs. Know all the songs they sing in Irish on YouTube. You teach them that, either. Anyway, I'm going to bed. Do you know the snails happened to there was a lad I was in school with.
Mm-hmm.
He was French. Do you know what he did? He ate all the Irish speaking snails in one whole townsland. Completely wiped out. I think it was in Ballynahown. There's no native speakers there anymore. And down in Florenrory live because it's a seal. There's no Irish speaking snails on there either because she had them all. It's sad to think of it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The loss of the language again. The loss of the language. Tir Conchanga. Tir Conchanga.
What in the world does that mean?
Country without a tongue, I think.
Country without a tongue?
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
I don't know either.
Right now, smelly bum bums.
Okay, good night.